right, everybody. So this is going to be a public service announcement. I know, sorry that neighbors got a guy grinding and sanding these beautiful old doors. Our houses are old. Like mine's 1927. These are over 7 feet tall, I think. And they're made of like old southern pine. Everything's like old southern pine. The molding is wide. All right, Arch, get to the public service announcement. Okay, I'm going to show you some pics. I'm going to do a little movie. All right. So this beautiful machine that I just finished for a customer, neighbor up the block, just gorgeous. Okay. And came in and I'm going through it. And it's a bit of a pest, actually, I got to say. So I get to a point where I told him last night, I said, we're going to need a blade adapter. And I told him that before. And I showed it to him. I said, this is no good. Blade, maybe. And it's Craftsman, so it's a star style. Seems like it's balanced. I can't really tell if it's bent because of the weird shapes, but you spin it up, you'll know. It'll vibrate. And I kind of told him about it and whatever, and then today, this is again last night I mentioned it. I want to give him prices on this stuff. He wants it right away and he doesn't want to spend the money on it. He wants me to put this on. I said I can't do that. I cannot put this back on with this blade. I won't. It's a safety problem. And I don't want to, yell at the guy or anything, but he said, really giving me a hard time. I said, you can put it on, but I'm not putting it on. And I want to show you why. He's like, well, how can it come off? Well, the first comment he made is something like, well, it only spins at like 300 RPMs. No, it doesn't. This engine turns at 3,000 RPMs. The blade is 21 inches, so roughly take it from the center point. They're not quite 21, but we'll say 21, so maybe 10 inches. So I don't know how many feet per minute that is. And this thing is very, very fast, and this thing weighs a few pounds. You want a sharpened, jagged, rusty piece of crap sliding out from underneath. He said, well, how's it going to hit me in my foot? It can come out this way. It might come out the front. It might come out here, all right? Might hit your foot. I don't know. I said, you want to be that guy? I said, I can't do that. Well, why would it be on there? I don't understand. I guess he shaved it off because it's so nice and perfect. There's no burrs. Did a good job. So I want to show you the other thing I found as I'm underneath, right? It's like a guard in the front. It's kind of a guard and helps direct the grass around the tunnel, and it stops it from going up towards the transmission. You guys have seen it before. The bolts will loose. We'll take a look at that clip in a bit. All right, this should work. So this is a universal adapter, and it just has the two little teats, little pins that stick up, and you can engage more of a universal blade. There's also blades for this style as well, but the universal works fine. And the pulley is the most important thing. You want the correct pulley size, so that's very important as well. And then I like to use the newer style MTD, when these have these little indentations that stick out to help engage everything and keeps the bolt from rotating. So otherwise what would happen is the blade would move back and forth, and it would spin the bolt off. And I could show you that later in a minute. So I bent this back a bit, but this is loose. So we're going to tighten this up. But I want to go over to another clip I just shot and just show you how the rotational forces and what have you will turn that bolt off, because everything is going counterclockwise. And you're trying to lock the blade to the adapter to the spindle of the crankshaft. And if you don't have that, you'll shoot that little bolt right off in a heartbeat at 3,000 RPMs. So this house somehow got filed off, as you can see what it's supposed to look like. So let's see. All right, this one's too long. But I wanted to keep it correct, because I don't know if this is the original blade, but to keep it correct on this star pattern, right? We could have ordered, this blade may be bent or maybe not bent. I don't know, right? It seems like it's balanced okay. So let's just look. We'll put it on. It goes this way, actually. All right, now, here's the direction. It goes this way. Okay, here's the blade edge. So she's gonna come this way. So that's counterclockwise. The bolt turns in clockwise. So, and there is a bit of play. There usually is, but when everything's tight. So the blade adapter has got a key inside of it. You're not going to see it, but there's a key in here. And that key is keyed to the crank. So the two of these, they spin in synchronicity, in unison. And unless you hit something and blammo that key, and boy, if you did that, you probably bent your crankshaft. 3/4 shaft, I think is what it is. I forget, it's the bigger one. Inch? I don't remember. Who cares? I'll check it later. So if it's able to spin, so this is locked, do the crank, and now the blade is locked, do the adapter, to the crank. They're all as one. It cannot try to spin this bolt off. Now the adapter is locked to the crank, but the blade is not locked to the crank or to the hub. And it will try to turn off because it's going in counterclockwise. It'll try to turn that off, and that'll happen fast at 3,000 RPMs. That will happen mighty fast. And this heavy thing will come flying off at you. I don't know, maybe it'll come underneath. He goes, well, how's it going to hit your foot? I don't know. You know what also could have happened is that whole front guard, right? That it's like a guard that completes the tunnel. That metal piece in the front. Let me back you out a little bit. One I showed you earlier that is in the front, underneath, right? Caps it off. One bolt on each. They will lose, flopping in the breeze. It already got bent. Well, if that came off, got sucked into that blade, pulled around, spun this off, and would have locked the blade, because if you lock the blade, everything spins off. If this hits something, too much meat, you're ingesting too much, if my neighbor doesn't cut his lawn enough, and it stalls the engine. So if you're doing that, it's going to spin this right off. And if that's what you want, I mean, if that's what you want, make one of these. And maybe it'll come at it here, maybe it'll come at it this way, maybe it'll hit something expensive, maybe it'll hit the dog or the cat or your old lady, maybe it'll hit your feet. I don't know. You want this? This is heavy. This is about 5 pounds. I think it was a couple feet pounds. That's going to be really heavy. So please don't do this. I mean, unless you want. You know, I'm telling you, don't do it. You want to do it? That's what you want to do? Go ahead. Be that guy. Be this guy. And I'm sure we've all heard people, or maybe yourself, you're jamming this thing into the ground and it's overloaded and the grass is wet and stall the engine and it's slowing it down. Those vibrations, those back and forth inputs, back and forth, the kind of forces these are huge. Respect these machines. You gotta, because accidents happen like that. And this would be a bad one. And just to tell you, my buddy, he was wiping down a motor, getting ready to sell it. And he was wiping it down with the rag, and he got over, I think, to this side, and it sucked the rag in, and he happened to have the rag kind of like this around his hand. He still has his fingers. There was some surgery involved, lots of blood, skin missing, issues with not being able to use your hand for a while. He's okay. The bail that pulls this thing back here, okay, you guys know this one, the engine kill. I mean, somebody my age, up here, right, it kills the engine, also has a brake on it, stops the blade. It's up out of the way, the pull cord's up out of the way. Years ago, we used to have to crank over here, or we'd have to pull it, put your foot over here. You could slip, the grass is wet, the ground is wet, you're not wearing the right shoes or whatever. Accidents happened all the time with these things, and they made this change, and I gotta tell you, it was a brilliant change and executed well, and it stopped a lot of the problems. Keep your hands and your feet away from this stuff. And police your lawn. I've seen blades that are bent and twisted go through your lawn and pick up. My father used to tell me when I first started cutting, I was 10. You know, my neighbor's kid still can't cut a lawn. And he's like in his 20s. Respect it. Whether it's an electric or gas, these things will really mess you up. So now I think you guys will understand why I can't join this individual in his ignorance. I will not do that. I'm not a follower. I'm not necessarily a leader, but I'm not going to follow And I cannot join somebody in their ignorance. They don't understand. I don't know. These engineers aren't going to give you anything that, you know, they're cheap. Okay. They're going to do the bare minimum of what they think they can get away with. And they came up with a bunch of different designs for this to lock blades into place. Mostly patent based, so somebody has a better idea. But whatever it is, this is still a pretty damn good one. And, you know, I had to come up with something that matched the distance, because this one's too tall. So the height of the blade adapter and the essentially very close to the overall pulley's diameter size and the shaft size, okay, the input shaft size. So I had to come up with something like that. Unfortunately, I had it. I had a good used one. I can't follow somebody in their ignorance. I'm not going to do that. If you know better and you know, you have to stick your guns. I don't care whether you're doing it as a hobby or for a neighbor or up the block or whatever, or a friend or a family member. Be careful. I see some pretty crazy things. This is not just ignorance. You could almost say this is stupid to do something like this. It really doesn't make sense. It bypasses a level of thinking that says, well, why would they need that on there? That's in my way. So I'm going to go and take the liberty of removing that. Because he said to me, what, the bolt will hold it on. No, the bolt will not hold it on. And the bolt, you're asking the bolt to do two jobs: stop the rotation and hold it on. Hold the whole assembly tight. Well, you wind up like that kid that's crying over there. Yeah, you're going to be crying. Stay safe. I'll see you on the next one. Can you guys hear that baby crying? Bye, guy crying.